Alright, so this is for entrepreneurship. Cape Unit 1, implementing and managing the venture. And this is part 1 of the implementation and management of the venture. We're going to have part 2 after, but we'll focus on part 1 now. So in implementing and managing the venture, there are going to be external factors that may affect the business. But there are factors that the entrepreneur should have full control over, such as their own competence, their own technical skills, and their own personal attributes. Right? So these would influence significantly the operations of the business. The entrepreneur must apply the correct amount of each factor in the implementation and managing stages in order to reap the success that is necessary. So in looking at the competence of the entrepreneur needs to be competent in the requisite areas. As I use, for example, the development of the egg farm. If, for example, you're operating an egg farm, it means that you need to know about you need to have this prerequisite skills to deal with the egg farm, whether it's going to be accounting skills or all those skills, the management skills, the accounting, the human resource, the technical skills, the personal attributes such as being resilient, being hard worker, and things like those. You need to have those requisite skills. All right, the implementation of the concept. In implementing the concept, that stage, which is the implementation stage, it requires the development of policies, goals, and objectives, and the execution of formulated strategies. In looking at the development of goals and strategies, it means that you're going to look at a number of things. And first, you're going to look at what are policies really. Policies are really seen as specific guidelines or methods or even procedures or rules and different forms of things or practices that are established by the business in order to support the work that is going to be taking place. So, of course, if I'm going to be doing an egg farm, there are certain guidelines that are going to determine what happens. No individual will come on the farm without their headgear or without a water boot or without sanitizing. The method that we use, the eggs that are going to be taken up first, they are going to be placed at a certain place. They are going to be carried in a certain way, right? The rules are that each person should log in at the gate before entering at the farm. They should get gloves and whatever out there, and all those things. Those are policies that would most likely be written. Policies are set to influence and determine all decisions and actions within an entity. So the policies are really directed towards ensuring the proper development of the organization. There are different types of policies. I have sexual harassment policies. So even though you're dealing with pharmacy persons, young ladies will be there, then you can't sexually harass them in any way or form. And if you do that, then it means that they could have a sexual harassment policy. As soon as you do that, there's going to be a court case and you're going to be charged or you're going to be charged, right? Use of cell phones, as I would have said before, there were times when I went to the bank and the use of a cell phone was when I asked some of my friends, I called them, they could not use their cell phones because it was prohibited. That was a policy. But now it is different for most banks, right? The cell phones were prohibited, and I don't know if on the front line if it still exists where you're not allowed to answer your phone. Because of course, if you're distracted, you might just end up giving persons money who are not supposed to get money, and also taking money that you're not supposed to be taking. So these are some of the reasons why persons would put policies in place like that. Recruitment and training, that could be a policy, a special way of recruiting and training, say mandatory training before you start the job or after 3 months you must be trained. Overtime policy can be there, that you don't work overtime unless you have worked during the week. Smoking policy, don't smoke on the job. and things like those, or there are particular places smoke. Goals and objectives. Goals are they are more the big thing that you need to achieve. Okay, I want to earn 50,000. I want to earn $50 million profit at the end of 2 years. How are you going to do it? The objectives will determine what you are going to do. So for this example, it said to become an entrepreneur. The objectives, what are you going to do? You're going to do your research, analyze the data as it relates to the area that you want to be in, right? And in becoming an entrepreneur, you might need to get yourself educated in. All right. The objectives need to be smart. It needs to be specific. Need to be measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So if I'm going to become an entrepreneur, it means that I need to be trained, and it means that I cannot just say, "Oh, I need to be trained." I need to be trained within 2 years or within a year. So it must be timely. There must be a period. It must be something that is specific. I need to be trained in the area of entrepreneurship. So it's precise. Me, I'm talking about me is the who, what I need to do is to get trained. Oh, probably it means that I need to get trained at a tertiary institution. Why? Because I need that information. I need the requisite skills and training to assist me when within 2 years. And I should begin by whenever. I can say begin in the next academic year. Measurable, it must be something that after I'm trained, you can see based on my certification. So it must be something that you can track my progress to say, okay, I'm trained now because here it is, I am certified at the end of 2 years. So I'm expected to be completed at the end of 2 or 4 years. The achievable, it must be something that I can achieve. So I cannot say that I want to be trained in entrepreneurship, but yet still it is not something I can achieve. It must be realistic. So yes, people can be trained in the era. So it must be something that I am going to say that I want to do, but I cannot do it. Right? Execution of formulated strategies. The strategies or action plans are to be properly implemented, and failing this, a great strategy may result in failure. So employees should be actively involved in the implementation process, as this will ensure commitment. Some persons, they might not want to work with you because they don't know where things are coming from the beginning stage. So you get them involved. Some of the strategies that are employed will concern areas, the functional areas, which is marketing, finance, and production. All right, operations management function is usually the bigger, the operations manager or the CEO is responsible for that area. So all of those, they are important in formulating the strategy. All right. The production and operations management function, in dealing with this function, you would optimize efficiency of the production process if you focus on that area. In focusing on that area means that you need to know about raw material, what is required for producing the product, right? So if I need, as I spoke about the eggs, you need to know how much feed each bird needs to get, how much space, how much um air they need to get, all of those. And the use of division of labor, one person take up egg is responsible for taking up egg, one person is responsible for cleaning the coop, one person is responsible for transporting the egg, so that's division of labor. All right, I'll be there now. Okay, so systems are set up to maximize the use of human resource. Systems are set up to maximize the use of human resource and capital, which is machinery and equipment, and they must be included in the control procedures. These activities will enable the business to reach expected rewards. Marketing strategies look at place, price, product, and promotion, which is the 4 Ps. And in looking at that, you have to focus on where is the business going to be located, what is the price of the product, what is the product really, what are the promotional activities that are going to be employed to ensure that the persons who are supposed to get the product get it, and the business. um in managing the venture, however, you look at the business performance. How is it performing? Are you paying back the resources? Are you reinvesting in the business? Is the business What about expansion? What are you going to be doing? Performance goal achievement. Is the business achieving as it is to? So in monitoring of the performance of the business, the systems should be put in place to monitor the vital signs to see whether or not the business is making is on par with what was planned. And you would have a business plan. The business plan would show where you would be or where you should be at a particular time. So the business plan can be used as a measuring stick or a yardstick to say, yes, we planned for this and this is where we are at, right? And if performance is not acceptable, it is important that relevant activities be put in place to adjust the performance of the entity. So you might need to adjust the performance by reducing the number of chickens in the coop or expanding the coop or changing the way that the eggs are taken up, changing the way that you store the eggs. Or it might mean that you need to sell out those chickens and buy new ones. So there may be instances in which systems are not working and may need to be aborted totally and a new system be implemented. So you might always grow them on the dirt and you realize that that is not working. They're eating the dirt and that is not good for them, and then the quality of the egg is poor. So you might need to put them on sawdust, just for argument's sake. So you monitor the performance, see if you're making the profit, and if not, you need to do something. It might mean that you need to train the workers because they are not as equipped in terms of skills, in terms of skills in handling these type of things. Monitoring may be done through the use of key performance indicators, looking at the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And as was shared, strengths would be internal, strengths and weaknesses would be the internal things. So the strength would be the positive, and the weakness would be the negative. So the number of workers that you have, how trained the workers are, those would be strengths, right? The size of the coop could be a strength. The weakness, however, could be the lack of training, or it could be the number of workers that you have, or it could be the leadership. Leadership could be poor. Opportunities would be those things that are on the outside. Opportunities and threats are external. There are things on the outside. So you look at what is it that is happening. The supplier, the supplier might not be available or might not be the best type of supplier. So you might need to do something about that, right? That's a threat. Sorry. The opportunities that exist could mean that you have the opportunity to do a linkage. It means you can have your own hatchery so that you can raise your own chickens from scratch, so that you can have them and you know how old they are and know when to change those out. Because supposing that you used to get old chickens and they were not doing as well for you, there's an opportunity that you have the amount of land space. That's an opportunity, right? And threat could be, most times threat is competition. And another threat could be governmental regulations that say no eggs that are grown at a certain, no eggs from certain chickens are not allowed to be shared with people in the country. And so because of that, you have to make changes. So those that could be a threat. Whenever there is a change in government, there might be change in rules as it relates to how you sell your eggs. And so those are threats. They are external, you have no control over them. The internal are the things that you have control over. Pay back of resources. Now you need to pay back for whatever you borrow. Because if you're not paying back, then you're going to be in problems, right? So when you borrow money, you must repay whether there's a profit or not. Equity shareholders, they must pay their share of the profit of the business, and this will ensure continued support from investors. As it relates to investors, it will build confidence to pay them back. Reinvestment in the business speaks to plowback. So there's plowback of profit into the business. It is a good way of ensuring the growth of the entity. In the early years, it makes sense to plow back and so that the business can grow, and then you can say, okay, then after that, you might not need to go back. Expansion of the business, managing business and maintaining it at one level is not necessarily easy. So that is maintenance, where you're managing the business and maintaining it at the same level. Economies of scale is experience when you get the business to grow and it's bigger. Economies of scale is where per unit you are really earning much more than if you were providing at a small